Well, I tell you what, all you need to do is listen to the newscast on the radio. Violent crime is, to say it's rising in this city is the understatement of the decade. We're hearing record numbers. Now, as of last week, in the preceding 28 days to that, violent crime was up almost 9%. It's off the charts and over the Rhine in downtown. And even worse now, talking about what's going on this week, you just heard about a shooting in, I think, English Woods it was, 20 shots fired into a crowd. And it goes on and on. Road rage incident Sunday. A doorman at a local restaurant was hit by a round, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was hit by a round, but he'll be okay, thank God. That was at the Bay Horse Tavern. It's just, I'll be honest with you, I've been around a long while. I have never seen it this bad. The guy that owns the Bay Horse said this: I've been working downtown 8.5 years. Never been this bad. Here to talk about it is Cory Bowman. He is a candidate for Cincinnati mayor in November. Cory, thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Mike, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad we could finally get on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me ask you something, Cory, and I don't mean to put words into your mouth, but would you say that the biggest issue facing the city of Cincinnati at the present time is crime? Would you agree with that?
As somebody that has a business, a home, and church there in downtown, in the West End, absolutely. That is something that is at the top of the priority list of everybody in the city.
And I'll tell you what, I've been around a while. I've never seen anything like this. It is almost literally every day now. And downtown, as I'm sure you know, Cory, it's a gem. It's an absolute gem. The riverfront, especially over the Rhine, so many millions of dollars were plowed into those things. I'm telling you right now, if this stuff keeps up, it's going to turn into a ghost town.
No, you're absolutely true. But the thing is that, we're being reactive to what's happening right now.
True.
But let's not forget that in the springtime, when there was articles from the media and from those in City Hall saying that crime was down and that they had a handle on it, everybody that lived downtown, had businesses downtown, all knew the same thing, that nothing could be farther from the truth and that this was going to escalate as it was getting warmer. And so what you're seeing right now isn't just out of the blue, something that's catching anybody downtown by surprise. They knew about this. They've actually voiced their concerns to the City Hall and the police department, and nothing was taken into account for it.
Have you been? I'm sure you have been. They had that big press conference a week ago from today where the chief came out and announced a number of things. Drones were one of them. And I asked Ken Kober, FOP president, if he thought that would be a good idea, and very, very much in favor of it. And also, they're establishing a 30-officer roving squad. My fear with that, Cory Bowman, is that, and they had that back during the Timothy Thomas riots, 2001, 2002. They got to back, if you want the cops to be proactive and aggressive in a proper way, you got to back them. And there are a lot of cops out there, Cory Bowman, who don't think that they will get the backing from the mayor and council if something happens. Your thoughts on that?
No, they absolutely feel that way, because the reality of it is that, in our business, we've actually been able to speak with cops about every day in the month of June. Mm-hmm. And when I talk to them, I don't come to them as a political candidate. I come to them as, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Mike, you have a background in CPD and the prosecutor's
mm-hmm.
office, so you know more than most when it comes to this process. So we need to listen to those that have the experience. As I'm listening to their voices of concern, they are saying more than anything that they don't feel like the city has their back. And what you're seeing right now is that many officers, when the time comes for retirement,
yep.
a lot of officers end up staying on board because either they love their city, they love their job, and they'll choose when to retire at the proper time. Right now, you're seeing officers that are saying once that moment comes, opportunity for retirement, they're out of here. they're out of here. And so that's the morale. That's the culture that we've set up from the top down, is that we put city programs, whether it be with 311 or ARC, in the middle between CPD and the city. We show them through the prosecutor's offices that this is just a rotating door of criminals that are just coming in and going out. So when they don't see the purpose behind their heart to protect and serve, and their hands are tied through all these policies, well, then you don't really have a good morale within the police department.
No, you don't. And I've been told that morale is just horrible now. You know, I tell the story from about 1985 to 1990. I was a municipal prosecutor for the city of Cincinnati, doing city cases in municipal court all day. Spent 2.5 years as a municipal court judge. Back in those days, Cory, I'll tell you what, you had Cincinnati cops, they sit back then in the jury box, overflowing the jury box, out in the hallways overflowing. I mean, they were active, they were aggressive in an appropriate way. You know, you go down there now and it's half the number of cases in the city of Cincinnati that you used to see. And that tells me that they're not being aggressive. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not faulting them. I don't know that I would be aggressive too, given the situation we have with council and the mayor giving us no support.
No, I mean, here's the thing. They love to praise the current administration or the city council members when there's things to praise them about. But when times are going off, they say, oh, this is unacceptable, but it's really out of our hands. No, it's exactly in your hands, because this is a culture that you set, and that's the tone that you've set. You've shown your officers that you do not support them. You've shown your officers that you don't have their back, that you have your city employees or whatever other programs that you have. That's a priority. And then when it comes to just recruiting, when it comes to hiring, you could just tell, like, they're actually getting caught up right now off of a time span of, I believe it was 6 and 7 years, where they didn't hire. And so all of this is kind of snowballing into what they're dealing with right now. And what's this going to take right now? Obviously, we have an election in November, but this has to happen now.
Yep.
We need to eliminate programs like ARC and 311, or at least get them to only focus on the things that they're meant to focus on. We need to untie the hands of the police officers, not from a military standpoint, but from, hey, let them protect and serve and be a part of their communities that they love so much. And so if there's any officers that are watching right now, if you live in the city especially, but even if you don't, get the word out. I'm asking for your vote in November, because we are going to be completely supportive of the police department. We are going to be completely supportive, not just to override the individuals that live in the city, but to back up those voices and to protect them.
Let me ask you this. November comes, you win the election. I know it's not a strong mayor in the city yet, but it's a stronger mayor. You're king of the world. You're the mayor. What do you do?
Well, the first thing is you have to set the tone, whether it be with your press conferences. You're not just showing up for photo ops. You're having those conversations with the proper police department officers and representatives. You're having whenever we get sworn in, it's going to be in January. And so not only do you have to worry about the months of snow and the snow removal and everything, but then you have to be proactive in saying, what are our plans moving forward to prevent a summer like what happened last year? And you have to work toward that with the police department.
Yep, absolutely. And the other thing, too, I mean, let's go back to the scenario I just gave you. You'd be working with not a majority, but I guess all Democrats, unless Don Driehaus can pull it off as an independent. You'll have a council that ain't going to be thinking the same way you are, I'm afraid.
Yeah, well, what I would say to this, too, is that this, in my mind, this is not a Republican or Democrat race.
It isn't.
This is a cabal of 9 council members and a mayor that have been endorsed by the Democratic Party, where there are more qualified people that are actually running, even as Democrats in this race, that didn't even get looked at because they want the things to remain the way they are. And so this has to be a collaborative effort of people that might disagree on national issues, but we got to come together and say this is a city election. This is not a national election. This is not even a state election. This is an election that is going to impact the crime, the infrastructure, and the budget of our city, and we have to come together and be on board with that.
No question about it. Let me ask you about staffing levels. It looks like that's getting a little bit better. I don't know if they have a class now, but if they don't, they got one coming up pretty soon. They finally came around to the idea of lateral transfers, which of course are police officers in other jurisdictions. Basically, it's like a baseball team, a trade, and they have to do some CPD training. But your thoughts on that? Because obviously, it always comes down to money.
Well, yeah, when it comes to short-term and long-term, the short-term aspect of lateral training had to be implemented. I mean, there has to be something done. I know that we have, election in November, but my heart really is that they start implementing some smarter strategies right now because lives are on the line. I mean, even last night, I was talking with people in my coffee shop, and there was shots that were going down Main Street, shots that were going down the West End over the weekend.
Wow.
And it's just, there's people that are suffering because of it. And these are things that we hear even from my house. And so the thing is that whenever you talk about the staffing, when you talk about the lateral hiring, that definitely is the right solution for the short term. But long term, we have to build a foundation that is going to set the city up for safety for the next 10 years. And so we have to develop a culture of saying when we hire, when we recruit, we're going to instill in them that the city has their back, that this is a strong force that is going to be actively involved in the community. I mean, I grew up and you had like DARE programs, and you always had officers and fire department that were in the city. And the thing is that is being lost right now. One of two ends of it. One, because that's not the culture they're setting from City Hall. But two, like you said, these officers, they don't feel like they're backed up. And so they're staying in their cars. They're not necessarily getting out in the community because if something were to happen, they're not going to be put on the side of support. They're going to be put on the side of attack. And when you have a prosecutor that delays the clearing of an officer, when you have prosecutors that are taking people as a result, revolving door, and taking them in and then putting them out, juvenile and on the adult side, then that's the culture that we've created. And we got to start somewhere.
Absolutely, because it's getting totally out of hand. With respect to staffing, I mean, when I took the test for CPD, I took it twice in the mid-'70s and late '70s because they laid us off and we had to take the test again. We took it down at Convention Center, and I swear, I'm not exaggerating. There were 2,500, 3,000 people going for, 100 jobs, if that. From what I understand, it is the exact opposite now. And now I'm sure it looks like taking away police officers' qualified immunity is going to be on the November ballot. If they take that away from police officers, you're not going to get anybody that wants to do that job.
Well, the result of what's happening right now is, so I have 3 kids. I have a 4th on the way. If I walk in, let's say that my wife, every time I walk in the door, she only lets me speak to my kids or communicate with my kids when they've been bad, and I have the worst case scenario, and then that's only when I talk to my kids. But when they're good or when we have family time, I'm just supposed to go upstairs and be away from them. Yeah. That's not going to create a good relationship. My kids are always going to feel like I'm the bad guy. They're not going to trust me. And then I'm going to feel like I'm disconnected with my kids. Well, that is carried over into the policies of our city. With these 311 and these ARC programs, with the culture that's being set from City Hall, the communities that I'm a part of in the West End, they feel forgotten about. They feel like that all it is bad guys. But then at the same time, that's the culture that is being set from above. We've got to change that. We've got to be able to show them that these officers are there to protect and serve. You do that, if you increase the morale that way, the recruiting is going to go through the roof. People are going to go, they're going to get trained properly, the morale is going to be high, and then these trainings involve the community into it, congratulate these officers for being there to protect and serve, and show them that they're on our side.
Yep. Hey, we got about 2.5 minutes left, Cory Bowman. What other issues do you feel are important that are facing the city of Cincinnati now? And then after that, just tell us about your campaign and tell my listeners how they can help.
Yeah, so whenever we talk to people, we don't just come out with our own, this is a copy and pasted platform. The first 2.5 weeks that we got the 500 signatures to get on the ballot, I was asking every individual, what are the key issues that you care about? And they all fall in line with three aspects: crime, infrastructure, and budget. Crime, we've talked about that with the policies that are going on. When it comes to infrastructure, people are fed up with their roads. They're fed up with their potholes. They're fed up. And I want to say this too, even though we've been talking a lot about the police officers, the fire department, the sanitation, every aspect of the city services that are involved under this city, these are essential services that have to be supported, and they have to feel like they're getting the funding and getting the administrative leadership to be able to do their job properly. You know, I feel sorry for anybody that's in charge of repairing potholes in the city, because they probably feel like they're being led by idiots right now, and they're just being reactive. They got to go out there and they got to fix this or that. How about having a proactive approach and saying, hey, we got snow coming up. Just so you know, ever since the beginning of time, between December and March, it has snowed in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yep.
How about we have the proper trucks? How about we have the proper plows? How about we have enough salt? How about we have a game plan in place? And then when that snow comes, which it will, we're not being reactive. Our proactive approach is cleaning these streets properly. The trash and sanitation, they got to feel like that the city is behind them to be able to clean the streets properly, to be able to manage the streets properly. And then when it comes to the budget, we have to be able to have the finances prioritized in what matters to the city, not national politics. We don't need a resolution for a ceasefire overseas. We need a resolution for a ceasefire in our city right now.
You are so
And so
right.
we got to be able to show people that we care about the city. Let the world figure out what they need to do. But if you are at City Hall, it's not Nation Hall, it's City Hall.
Hey,
you need to fight for the
Cory,
city of Cincinnati.
Running out of time. I don't want to let you go until you tell us how people can get involved in your campaign.
Yeah, so you can go to CoryBowman.com. That's CoryBowman. That's CoryBowman.com. You can contribute financially to what you're doing. You can contact us through all the channels that are on there. And then volunteer-wise, this is what we're doing, is that July 3rd and 4th, we're going to be walking in parades. We're going to be at, I believe, the North Side Parade and another parade on July 3rd, which we'll be announcing today. And as we announce those, we need people to walk in the parades with us. And then starting July 7th, we're going to be doing door knocking and waving 4 times a week all the way through the summer. So if you want to get involved in any of those ways, you can go to CoryBowman.com, reach out to us, let us know that you're a part, or if you just want to send a comment saying that you support us.
All right. Hey, Cory, I'll tell you what, I'm impressed, especially on the law enforcement end. And, you know, anytime you want to come on and talk about it, let me know. Really appreciate you calling in this morning.
Mike, thank you so much, and thank you to all your listeners for having me.
All right. Thank you. Well, I'll tell you what, that's the first time I've ever talked to Cory, and I'm impressed. He's got a handle on it, I think.